Hello there, luxury watch lovers. In this channel, I cover the background, fundamental design features, and things to consider before buying your watch. If you have a luxury watch that you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments below. In today's video, we're going to cover the Marathon Military Navigator Quartz. It serves as the entry point into a line of watches designed for various military forces and organizations that carry out their missions in the field. When a watch clicks with you, the details don't matter. It could be a low-cost quartz watch or a massively expensive grand complication. It could be made of plastic or platinum, but when you put it on your wrist, you just know it's right for you. That watch should ideally be the Marathon Military Navigator Quartz date. Marathon watches were created through a collaboration between the Wein Brothers, a Canadian watch distributor, and Gallet, one of the oldest Swiss watch brands dating back to the late 1400s. In the mid-1980s, the Wein Brothers hired Gallet to design tough-as-nails watches for distribution to the US and Canadian Armed Forces, launching the brand as we know it. Marathon was an old name owned by Gallet that was resurrected for the project. Interestingly, the dials on early versions issued to the Canadian Armed Forces read Adinak, which is Canada backwards. The Marathons offer authentic styling in a modern package for fans of both tool watches and military designs. The new generation of Marathon Navigators is easy to wear with great looks and functionality, thanks to crisp, clean dials, rugged lightweight cases with integrated crown guards, and tritium tubes for nighttime legibility. These are also not watches that claim to be one thing but are another. Marathon's entry-level model, the Navigator, embodies everything the brand is known for among enthusiasts and users alike. It's a watch made purely for function, not for appearance or commercial success. It's intended to be mass-produced at a low cost, but that doesn't mean it's low on quality. These are designed to be used on the battlefield, or, as the name implies, in the air. After all, it's a pilot's watch, and the last thing a pilot needs when operating a multi-million-dollar asset is equipment failure. Because the watch is built to the military specification MIL PRF 46374G, some aspects of the design may be unfamiliar, but that's what gives this model genuine tactical charm. The case is made of a plastic-like fiber shell composite material that is extremely light. And if you're used to wearing steel watches, you might find yourself jiggling your wrist to make sure it's still on. One thing that stands out about this watch is how strong the case feels in comparison to how light it is. It's available in 3 different colors: black, desert tan, and sage green, all appearing to be serious. The case is also asymmetrical, with the slightly bloated right side protruding further out to form the crown guard. Let's take a look at some of the design features. The Marathon Navigator has a resin case size of 42mm and a thickness of 12.7mm. We're looking at a lug-to-lug of 47mm and a lug width of 20mm. It has an ETA F04 high-torque quartz movement and has a water resistance of up to 60 meters. This watch has a striking black dial that lights up in the dark with its tritium tubes as lume. The case and nylon strap comes in a variety of neutral colors to choose from. The exciting part for our first-time watch collectors is that this watch only costs around $230. Here are 4 things to consider before buying the Marathon Military Navigator Quartz date. Taking off with number 1, the case. The Navigator comes with a resin plastic case that comes in black, green, or tan. Although the others are quite appealing, black is perhaps the most classic of the colors, now that steel versions are no longer available. Its matte finish is reminiscent of bead-blasted steel, and it has very low reflectivity. Because it is plastic, it has a different presence than PVD steel, albeit a more subtle one. It's also much lighter, which, when combined with a quartz movement, results in a featherweight watch that can be worn all day. The case dramatically bows out on the right side to protect the crown, as seen in the classics previously mentioned. It's a fantastic design that protects the crown while avoiding jagged points. By referring to mid-century designs, it naturally feels vintage as well, which contributes to the watch's overall aesthetic appeal. The box Hesselite acrylic crystal, which adds a greasy sheen and a cool detail as it curves along the edge, emphasizes this even more. The watch has an intriguing profile from the side. The central case is quite thin, with a curving geometry that slightly lowers the slender lugs over the wrist. The thick by contrast bezel is the next layer. The bezel, which is also made of resin, has a 60-click bidirectional mechanism. Though it lacks the feel and sound of a metal mechanism, it still works quite well, providing more than enough resistance to be strong and accurate. The deep grooves on the side make it extremely easy to grasp. Finally, that stunning acrylic crystal protrudes a few millimeters above the bezel. The return of the case is all business. It's a snap-on steel plate with a lot of text on it, including the watch's name, spec number MILPRF 46374G, and a few other details. The case back is usually obscured because the watch is designed to be worn with a pass-through strap. Moving on to number 2, the dial and bezel. The Navigator's dial features a tried and true mil-spec design that dates back to the early implementations of this watch in the 1990s. The matte black surface has a large, crisp white hour index with a smaller 24-hour index printed within. On the outer edge, there is an index with green tritium tubes at each hour, except for 12, which has an orange tube and white lines in between for the individual minutes and seconds. An angled square date window with a black on white date wheel can be found between 4 and 5 o'clock. Though it is a bit of a blunt execution, it does fit with the dial's matter-of-fact approach to all design elements. Almost the entire dial is in use. The brand name is just below 12 o'clock and US government is above 6 o'clock. There is also text or a marking relating to the tritium tubes with a radiation symbol at 3 and H3 at 9 o'clock, which refers to hydrogen-3, tritium's molecular makeup. If this is too much text or clutter, Marathon also provides a sterile no-date version with a cleaner appearance. The dial is surrounded by a 12-hour bezel, which allows you to easily track a second time zone. The bezel index is made up of large, chunky numerals in bright white that have a commanding presence. There are also white marks from the origin to 4 o'clock, presumably for the minutes. The 0 or 12 numeral has been replaced by an inverted triangle with a small gap in the center that houses a tritium tube. Between the dial and the bezel, there's a nice balance of purposeful and bold elements for a watch that's as appealing as it is legible. The hour and minute hands are white syringe shapes with large tritium tubes that are easy to read. The second hand is a white stick with a red tip that lacks lume. The red does add a point of interest as well as a splash of color in the light, which works really well. The tritium tubes are without a doubt the best part of the dial. I'm definitely a new fan of trit tubes and I can't get enough of them. To ensure constant visibility in low-light situations, the military Navigator Pilot's Quartz employs self-contained tritium gas tubes. Thus, A gas tube is placed on each hour marker, hand, and at the 12-hour marker in the bezel. Tritium tubes are self-illuminating gas tubes containing an isotope of hydrogen, which means they will not dim in brightness like standard photoluminescent glow-in-the-dark paint, which requires an external light source to produce a glow. Though they never shine as brightly as fully charged C3 superluminova, their persistent glow makes them more visible in all lighting conditions. They are perhaps most effective when you are not aware that they are working, such as in a poorly lit room or outside on a rainy day. They won't appear to be glowing, but you'll be able to see them perfectly. And they'll be very noticeable if you're in a dark room, such as a movie theater. Hopping across to number 3, the movement. The Navigator is powered by an ETA F04 high-torque quartz movement. You'd think that the extra torque is for lugging the tritium tubes around. It also has low power consumption and an end-of-life display. On a military dial, the sharp tick of the second hand appears meaningful, as if each second is meant to be observed precisely. But because it's quartz, you know it's precise and won't need to be reset if you don't wear it for a week. It also adds to the impression that this watch can withstand a beating while remaining light and comfortable. And last but not least, number 4, the straps and wearability. The Navigator comes with a single pass strap made of long black nylon. It's extra long so it can be worn over a uniform. While tough and completely functional, this is about as basic as a strap gets. The contrast from colored nylon highlights the geometry of the case, making it more exciting to wear. The combination of olive or khaki with matte black plastic creates a very cool effect that goes well with a variety of casual clothes. This is a rugged and aggressive looking watch that you can pair with hearty fabrics, dark colors, and so on. It's very light and comfortable to wear, making it an excellent summer watch. The Navigator is beyond comfortable to wear on the wrist. The asymmetrical case appears larger than it is, and the added bulk of the bezel adds a lot of mass. However, it is relatively thin and has a short lug-to-lug distance, so it will fit smaller wrists. It's simply very cool in terms of aesthetics. The classic military elements, combined with the vintage feel of the domed crystal and finished with a modern resin case, creates a one-of-a-kind watch. This wraps up my review of the Marathon Military Navigator Quartz. I really appreciate you taking time to watch this video. Nothing helps my channel more than you watching until the very end. If you enjoyed this type of content, let me know in the comments below what other watches you think deserve their own video. And remember, time is your greatest asset.